special guests from the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District. I would like to introduce Attorney Keith Turner, who is the attorney for the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District, and with him is Mr. Dallas Quinn, who's with the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District. As you're aware, over the past month, the United States Corps of Engineers has set aside $221 million for flooding in Northeast Jackson, North Jackson, to the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District. I've asked Mr. Turner to come and give a brief description as to where we are, where we plan on going, and how this project will alleviate or eliminate, in some instances, flooding in the North Jackson area. So, Mr. Turner, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to give you all an update today.
Hold on a second. $221 million set aside for the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District through the Corps of Engineers. Okay, go ahead, sure.
So that's the biggest news. The supervisor just mentioned that funding is an enormous chunk of the project money that we're expecting to have to really struggle to get, so it's wonderful to have that in place already. As of August of this year, we've submitted what they call a feasibility study environmental impact statement, large 3,000 plus page document. It was completed and delivered to the Army Corps of Engineers in August, and they are now conducting what they can call the complete review, and they're going to create what's called a decision document. That decision document will be used for the Assistant Secretary of the Army to make a final decision. That's one nice thing about this project. Also, it's already authorized by Congress. All it requires is the Assistant Secretary of the Army to make a decision, and this is what they'll be doing over the next several months. So we're working with the Corps, both in Washington, D.C., here and in Vicksburg. There's a team of scientists and engineers going through our large package. We're meeting with them weekly and talking to them even more frequently than that to develop this decision document, which we expect it to be done sometime towards the end of this year, the turn of the next year, sometime at the beginning of early next year. And at that time, we expect the Assistant Secretary of the Army to make a decision very affirmatively. You know, all the signals and everything that he's been telling us is very encouraging. The recent floods in just both 2020 and 2022 have really highlighted the need for something. We've come so close so many times to really another catastrophic flood that the Army Corps realizes this. They have really turned this pedal to the metal high speed to get this done. We've been working on this for many, many years, but we've accomplished with the Corps more than we have probably the past year, the past few weeks. It's just been really helpful to see them really putting it hard to work. So what we expect, as I say, to have a decision document early part of next year. With a decision document, then we would then enter into an agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers, where the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District would take a portion of the work, and the Corps would take a portion of the work, begin design and final engineering. We estimate that to take about a year's time, and then that would put us starting construction sometime in 2024 if all goes well. We still have property to acquire and other permits and things, but that should take no more than 2 to 3 years to construct this, so you're looking at 3 to 4 year window to get everything completed. In regards to its performance, and the supervisor mentioned this, y'all recall the 2020 flood was actually number 3 on the record of floods, and a lot of homes in Northeast Jackson were impacted. This project, if modeled, would demonstrate that 95% of the homes that flooded in 2020 would not flood. They would have water in their homes, they would have water on their streets. So, and those folks are in below 100 floodplain, so they're very vulnerable. So this project has shown that it will help Northeast Jackson, it will help Tattle Creek, it will help other parts of Jackson, and of course the other side of the river. And it provides not just the flood protection, which is the primary purpose of this job, but it also gives an opportunity for our citizens to get to the river. Right now, you can't get to the river, so we'll have recreational opportunities as well on both sides of the river, and then some economic opportunities there as well.
Let me just ask if you could just touch on, there are some people that are very skeptical, thinking that there's going to be some type of environmental harm as it relates to this particular project, and just state that all of that's been studied and studied to death, and what the project will actually do in simple terms. And tell me if I'm overstating it or understating it. You're basically going to widen the river and make it deeper to where water will flow at a normal rate. Or is that, am I close to that?
No, that's correct. What will happen, I mean, the important thing is we're staying with an existing levee footprint. In the 1960s, when the Army Corps built this levee project that we have out there that protects part of our community, but not all of it. They also took the river and they channelized it, made a big straight ditch out of it. So our plan right now is to widen the river between the levees, existing area that floods right now 4 or 5 times a year, widen it out to improve conveyance of the water through this area. Because there's really some pinch points that are created by the development of Jackson over the past 100 years. And we want to widen that out and eliminate those pinch points and improve conveyance. And we have to do this to make sure we don't flood problems downstream either. So it has to be properly designed and engineered to improve conveyance for us in Northeast Jackson, but at the same time not harm downstream folks. But we are not hurting environmental issues. We addressed that extensively. We had extensive discussions on environmental issues. And the other important thing, as far as communities go, nobody's home is going to be taken and no business is going to be taken. Because the footprint of the project is within an area that floods 4 or 5 times a year right now on a regular basis between the levees.
Mr. Ben?
My question is, and I think you kind of touched it, but downstream, part of my area is inclusive of Bowery, and we had a considerable amount in that 2020 flood. They had a considerable amount of housing in that area that was flooded out twice during that time frame. What is this project and how is it going to impact that area in terms of addressing that issue?
Well, this project doesn't provide flood protection for them, but we need to make sure it didn't increase or exacerbate flooding down there as well, which it does not. Those areas are extremely low, and now we had, 20 years ago, there was a project that would develop that whole area that would help flood protection for the whole area, but it's just too environmentally huge, and it's an enormous cost in the billions. So the problem with trying to cover all these areas is multiple issues, but we're not harming anybody downstream. We're not adding flooding downstream at all.
So I'm not sure if I got the answer to the question. What was it again?
I'm sorry. So there will not be flood benefits for Byron, but there will not be additional flooding problems caused by this project to Byron.
So is there any plan in this? I noticed that you were with the, I think it's Rankin-Hinds. So do you have plans in your project or any project to address that issue in Bowery?
Not at this time.
People who are suffering in that area?
No, sir, not at this time. Because some of those flooding is related to things other than the Pearl River flooding. Some of those are flash flooding issues. There's a multitude of flooding issues. But the ones you referred to from 2020 are not part of this plan right now.
I mean, but if it's flooding, isn't it flooding? Is it not that is a result of the water coming down from the Pearl River?
Certainly.
So why aren't there any plans for that?
Well, we certainly can study it, but right now, the focus has been in Jackson, because Jackson has a greater flooding problem as far as downtown and Northeast Jackson. They flood at a higher rate of percentage and a greater number of homes.
That's right. Well, that's because of population size.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Don?
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming out. A couple of things. One, that's good music to my ears because even with the flooding, especially here in Adams County and Northeast Jackson, but one of the things that I'm really concerned about, and we might as well lay on the table, and I think the citizens of both counties are concerned whether or not, I want to know what is going to be the economic impact for Hinds County if one desires to do business. Do you have a higher level of doing business on the Rankin County side or higher level of doing business on the Hinds County side? Or are we going to be fair when it comes to playing level football or basketball or baseball in this sense? I just don't want to see everything going to the Rankin County side. And when we do these studies, the bigger part of the study came perhaps from the Hinds County side to impact government to bring those funds to a capital county as well as a capital city. And so I'm really concerned about the economic impact that's going to take place in the future when we're doing business on the Hinds County side.
Sure, if I may. So there's 3 areas of this project that are being conducted. There's recreational access, there's natural resource areas, and then there's economic development components. And we intentionally designed it so that you had equal of each of those 3 on both sides of the river. Both counties have equal opportunity for economic development. If the project is approved, when the project is approved in the spring, the intention is to then begin developing an economic development plan for the entire project, working with the Board of Supervisors, working with the communities, Jackson and others on the other side, to develop a plan to allow those economic development sections to be put into force. So yes, sir, we're sensitive to that, and we're making sure that both sides of the river have opportunities, equal opportunity for economic development.
And so my follow-up is, I can understand it now as we speak, trying to get these funds to get it done, and I think it needs to get done. I think it's, Mr. McDowell has been working on this thing for a long, long time. He even took me and showed me out there exactly what the plans are and what they was going to do. And once again, the question that I proposed to him is that after we are able to get things straightened out, get the flooding under control, are we going to see Rankin County throwing rocks at Hinds County by saying, you don't want to build on that side of the river. You need to come to this side of the river, because right now in today's society, we're seeing that when it comes to Madison County and Rankin County, when you hear people talk about both of those counties, they say in Hinds County, well, these are the things that you got to deal with. You got to deal with crime, you get infrastructure, you got water problems, and that is a way of getting businesses to move to those counties. And so we're going to have the argument, we might as well have the argument up front. Now, you need Hinds County right now in the process of moving forward. And I don't want that to happen. And I'm on board with that. But I'm thinking down the road here, if I see all this great building and fancy stuff going up over on the Rankin County side, and do not see anything coming up from the Hinds County side, then I guess at that point, we're going to scream, we're going to yell, we're going to holler, we're going to do what it takes to say, okay, this thing was not done fair, because all the planning in terms of economics have taken place on the Rankin County side or the Hinds County side. We may have an advantage here, I don't know, but I just feel my gut feeling. This is just my gut feeling. From the way that I've seen things grow around this county and our neighboring counties, it appears that they got they're just ahead of us just a little bit when it comes to economic development. And I just feel that there's something out there, and I'm just trying to reach it down so we don't have these problems going forward. So share a little bit more of that with me, and I'll leave you alone.
Yes, sir.
You can't answer all this stuff.
No,
I need to come to the board, I come on over there.
Those are important questions, and listen, I'm a citizen of Jackson as well. I care about what happens to the future of this side of the river as much as you do. I promise you, I've been here for 40 years. But one of the things that we plan on doing, upon approval of this project, the board makeup is going to change, and we're going to be adding additional seats to this side of the river as we expand the footprint of the project area. So there'll be a lot more representation from this side of the river than there is right now, and we'll also have an opportunity to make sure things like that are addressed. In addition, there's been discussions about different concepts on how we want to do an economic development entity to deal with those exact issues. Do we create a new one, possibly, that Hinds County and the City of Jackson participate and help direct that, or do they want to do it independently? Those discussions will begin in earnest in 2023, and we'll be back here to talk to y'all about exactly those kind of concepts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. McDowell.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
All right.
My concern is, like Ms. Gavin said, the flood downstream. I got children down here too. We do know that issue why the river, you must water a lot faster downstream. When you take curves of the road and make it straight, you issue water a little faster. I got several calls from the other counties down below saying that the water quality is going to occur there. So, as well, my concern is Jackson is Hinds County. I'm also concerned about low flow here, and what are we going to do about fix one problem here, create a problem downstream for the small counties that do what are we got something in place that, once the street is real out, you got something in place that's gonna slow the water down, so you won't have to again, when you straighten it real out, the water gonna flow a lot faster than it is right now. So,
Sure. Let me address that. First of all, the river's already been straightened out by the Corps in the 60s. But to specifically deal with your concern, we've conducted 2 extensive modeling of the river downstream. And one of those was done by an independent consultant that works for DEQ, that created a model of the entire Pearl River. So we asked them to get on board and take this project and model it. And the things that it shows, and I can email you the specific report if you'd like to see it. It's in our documents. It shows that there is no effect on water quality, water quantity, temperature, flow rates. We've extensively shown that there are no impacts downstream from this project. And the reason why, quite honestly, is that this is an area that we're working within the flooded area, within the levee area already that floods regularly. So that river's that wide and that much water is moving through, it slows down just a little bit in certain areas, and we're just kind of removing those obstacles. So, also, if you look on a map, you'll notice that the river plain really dramatically widens out just south of Jackson. It gets to be 3 miles wide. So, but it's really tight right as it comes through town. So as it gets out there, it opens and widens up dramatically, and that changes the ability of the river as well when it's flooded, as far as its speed and volume and so forth. So I would like to provide that to you directly. I can send you a copy of that report. It's in the study, but it has a lot of detail and modeling on why there are no impacts downstream.
Okay, Mr. Gadd.
My question here is, how do we access the study itself, and not just that part, but the overall study that was formulated in order to come up with this conclusion for a project?
Sure.
And secondly, why aren't there some plan in place to address that flooding downstream? Even though I understand what you explained here, but there still should be an urgent sense of urgency addressing those people who are being impacted by those floods.
Sure. So as far as the first part of the question, the draft version of that document is on our website and has been out for over 2 years now. The final version will be submitted to the public as well very shortly in the coming months. It'll be available on the website. It'll be emailed. As Board of Supervisors, you will have a copy of that as well. We'll distribute it to each one of your members. So you'll have an opportunity of all 3,000+ pages to be able to review that, and you'll see all those details. So it'll be available to the public for 30 days for their comment as well. As far as the downstream goes, it's a valid question, and I will take that back to our board and discuss it with them. There's a lot of needs for flooding all over the place, quite honestly. This is not just one area, but this has been the pressing concern that the flood control district has been really requested to address over the past several decades. And the downstream issues, not just in South Hinds County, but there are places down south. I mean, there's other issues on the county south of us that have flooding problems all the way down to the mouth of the river. And that's beyond our authority. Our authority only stays in Rankin-Hinds counties. But I will certainly bring that question, concern up to the board and see. I mean, we have this project we're trying to get through. There are opportunities for other areas, we can look at that.
Okay.
Just as a follow-up on this, and this is expression of my concern, I certainly can understand and appreciate giving relief in northeast Jackson and in that area, but then I don't think that giving the relief there is addressing the concerns, particularly in the South Hinds County area, where they are flooding now as well. And if you're going to give relief in northeast Jackson, it ought to be extended down to South Jackson as well. Thank you.
So I'll bring that concern to our board.
I want to thank you for coming. I just want to get a little history. I was here in the '79 flood, which really flooded whole Jackson. And in the legislature, they came up with the Saco Dam. But politics didn't allow it to happen. Then they came up with 2 lakes. And politics didn't allow that to happen. Let's not let politics stop the 1 lake. That's very important. That we don't let politics let people in northeast Jackson. They flood every time there's a heavy dew. So we want to fix the problem. I'm so happy that we are where we are now, and I supported Saco. I supported two lakes because I know what happened in '79. And believe it or not, '79 can come back. That's when we lost so much funds in economics in Jackson. So, go straight ahead and try to solve all the problems that happen, but we need this project done.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.